All right, we're live. So this is going to be in 5 minutes. I will start the broadcast. So this is going to be some whatever. I got Geoffrey Ginter on from, he's a healthcare and MMT activist, which is monetary or modern monetary theory. Which is basically anybody who's out there screaming taxpayer funded. You should probably listen to this because I didn't realize this while I was out there screaming it myself. And this would be something for you to tune in on. This is a teachable moment for me. When I realize sometimes when I say things that, and I don't feel like I'm alone in this. I feel like a lot of people, they think they know something and then they just regurgitate it back out there and without actually knowing. I mean, you can be as smart as you want, but informed is completely, it doesn't have anything to do with being smart or intelligent or dumb. Just not being informed is not being informed. And once you realize that you've got something wrong, it is then your responsibility to inform yourself of what's right or correct, so you're not out there amplifying the wrong messages and false narratives.
Stephanie Kelton, one of the leading proponents of modern monetary theory, is a big fan of Mark Twain, as I am, and she often quotes Twain, "It's not what you know that gets you in trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Got to be constantly checking and rechecking these preconceived notions, these things that we know for sure are absolutely true. Are you though? Are you really sure? How much of your understanding is unearned? You heard it from somewhere else and you assume that must be true. Did you earn that knowledge yourself? Did you do the research? You don't need to be PhD in whatever it is that you're looking at. You don't have to be a scholar, but you have to have done something more than simply heard something somewhere that feels logical. I get that. It feels logical is a very important first step. You've got to listen to that voice in your head, but then you have to go out and earn that information. You can't just simply pick it up off the ground that someone else left. That's the beginning. That's the start.
All right, we're just waiting shortly for the admin to approve this to be streamed into the group. Once that happens, we will get going. That's funny. I got my daughter today. We had a mix up in me and her mom had a mix up in communication, and so I ended up having her now, and I'm like, oh my god. But whatever. So you might have a little girl pop in and out. If somebody's talking,
Awesome.
I'll just mute.
This is what quarantine is all about.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to figure it out. I wasn't going to cancel, so you just roll with it.
Absolutely. I'm a rocker and a roller.
Got to be fluid these days.
How's my sound level, by the way? Sounding good?
Yeah, you sound good. What I do?
Got these new AirPods in, so.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, so my mic actually picks it up, and so let's see. So it said it approved it. Are we in? Is it starting? It is 1 o'clock. Let's see. Why does it have no video? That's no good. No video playing. Add video. All right, let's 9. Let's go. Where am I at? Let's do.
God knows I've been there too. Supposed to be
All
on.
right,
You're
there
supposed to be
this
live.
is. So, all right, we're on there now. So let me share to this group. Share to a group. Let's go POD V. If you're watching, just bear with me here. It's funny. I knew that this was gonna. I was like, I jinxed myself.
It's technology, man. That's what technology does. What it does best. It brings us together.
All right. So while I'm waiting for them, hopefully that that goes through. I'm not really sure. It says post pending. So, anyways, this is a Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. While we're waiting for this to get into there and the post to be approved, my guest today is Geoff Ginter, and he is a healthcare and MMT activist, which is modern monetary theory. And like I'd said before, if you are somebody who is out there, screaming about taxpayer funded, when you're getting upset about everything that's happening, this is a good episode for you to listen to. And I'd also like to say thank you to the admins of vCON, which I imagine is short for Podcast Virtual Convention. This has been going on since yesterday around 6 p.m. And so thank you for everything that you're doing. Hopefully I didn't screw this up and I get into the group where I'm supposed to have it in there. We'll see. So Geoffrey, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background in MMT, and as a a person who's just out there getting it done. All right, so there we are. So we're in vCON right now. There's 2.
Are we on?
Yeah, it looks like it. So yeah, all right.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so as you said, I'm Geoff Ginter. I am you. I am everyone. I am every person. I am nothing special. There is nothing special about me that isn't special about someone else. I have to say that constantly. I am a musician. I'm a sound engineer. I'm a healthcare professional. I'm a husband. I'm a father. And I never really aspired to being anything more than that. And in that respect, I'm very much like everyone else. I just want to live my life. I wanted peace and quiet. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do. And then 2016 election happened and my head exploded. And I couldn't live with it anymore. I had been very politically aware my entire life at that time. I was 46 and could not, in good conscience, be politically aware, but hold the idea that my opinion didn't matter, that there was nothing I could do, and I wasn't powerful. Who was going to listen to me? that was a thinking that I think a lot of people had, and it kept a lot of people in their seats. It kept a lot of people feeling powerless and just allowed things to happen to them. I couldn't take it. So I started writing. I started seeking out people in my area on the Jersey Shore, and I started trying to find a way to change it, to change what was going on. And that led me to stand up at a town hall with my Congressman Rep Macarthur, twice actually. Once got decent local coverage, and then the other one just went all over the world and changed my life. Not necessarily for the better, but it was what it was.
So I have that clip. You want to play that real quick?
Go for it.
All right. Let's get you into here.
That's me with shorter hair. I've got COVID hair now. So yeah, so that happened.
Yeah, sorry about that. The audio wasn't playing on that because I forgot the way that I have this run through to do. But the gist of it is basically I'll put this. Actually, this is actually in the description, right? And really, what this breaks down is, as you were saying, what almost I believe every American wants to say to one of their representatives or the people that are in power. And most people, we think of everything to say as an afterthought. Oh damn, I should have said that. I wish I could have said this in the moment. And you, for whatever reason, however, maybe you're just good at talking like that, but off the cuff, but I mean, that was pretty good. And sorry about that. I wish I didn't. The sound would have worked. But go to the description, and when this is over, play that. And this is what everybody should be doing, standing up and questioning their leaders. We're constituents. We have people that are supposed to be representing us. And if they're not, we have to do exactly what Jeff did. Make them accountable, hold them accountable.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the most important things we all have is our voice, and you've got to use it. You've got to find it, whether that's, the written word, make a video, write a song, write a poem, do something. You are not powerless. You are not, you cannot be marginalized unless you acquiesce to allowing yourself to being marginalized, as I did for 46 years. I just assumed because I wasn't a lawyer and I wasn't an economist and I wasn't something important, something that I had considered to be societally important, that I didn't have a place to speak. And so I didn't. And it was a pretty easy choice for me to make because I wanted to do other things. And I feel the weight of responsibility for having made that choice, because the things that have been done by the rich and powerful, I don't think could possibly have ever been done if we'd had an educated, aware, and active citizenry. Couldn't possibly. So everyone that stands down, everyone that thinks, what can I do? I am no one. I am one person. Everyone that hears that voice, that listens to it, believes it, and does it, is part of the reason why things are as they are. So we all have to take a small measure of personal responsibility and rise up, do something. Preferably take to the streets. As far as I'm concerned right now, that's the best avenue. But if you can't, find another way. There's always another way. I guarantee you there's another way. And if you keep plugging away at it, you'll find your way to make your voice heard, so that they can't ignore you, so that you will have to be paid attention to, and your needs will have to be addressed. So that's what happened to me, and the whole world came to my door afterwards. It was very uncomfortable, but it made me start to realize the power that one person can have if they choose to do something with it. And I took a few interviews, and I did one with John Lancelot at Real Progressives, and the thrust of the interview was the town hall and what was I thinking, et cetera, et cetera. But at the time, I wasn't wearing glasses, and so I could not read the comments that were coming up. But there's one thing I hate is not knowing what's going on, and so afterwards I watched the video just so I could see the comments, and MMT, 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 MMT kept coming up. And I had no idea what that was, and that bothered me, something that I didn't know. So I researched it. It's modern monetary theory. And if you if you watch the video with my confrontation with MacArthur, and if you watch any healthcare debate, even happening right now, let alone at that time or any time previous, they always talk about how expensive it is, how we have to control costs, how expensive it is, how you can't have the private government do it because it's going to be more tax dollars, how expensive it's going to be. And if you research modern monetary theory, you'll realize that that's not the important question. The important question is, do we have the stuff in real terms, in doctors and nurses, in hospitals and clinics, in medical manufacturing equipment, in pharmaceutical companies? Do we have everything we would need to provide for the health care of everyone within our borders? And if the answer is yes, then we don't have a problem, because MMT shows us there is a difference between an issuer of currency and a user of currency. You, Sean, are a user of currency. You don't create it. You don't control it. You have to get it somehow. You have to earn it, beg, steal, borrow. That's you. You're a currency user. You know who else is a currency user? The town you live in, the city you live in, the state you live in. These are all currency users, corporations, businesses, private citizens, states. A lot of countries are currency users. But the United States, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Australia, these are currency issuing countries. These countries, with their central bank as part of the unit, create and control their own currency. So when you create your currency, when you don't promise to convert that currency into something else like gold or another currency, when you don't borrow in foreign currency, you have no significant, if any, foreign denominated debt, you have complete monetary sovereignty. What you do and can't do is not determined by currency, by cash. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. Anything that the US government wishes to purchase, if it's for sale in its own currency, it can do so. It has no financial constraints. It has resource constraints. What it can and cannot do is not financially limited, it is resource limited. So long as we have the things, then we can use the currency, we can use the federal budget to marshal our resources to create these things, to use these things for these purposes. And as long as these issues are not, as long as these resources are idle, not being used anywhere else, we don't even have a chance of causing inflation, which is the real constraint for monetary sovereignty, full employment, inflation. So MMT shows us these things. So every politician, every last one of them that says we can't do single payer healthcare because it's too expensive, they're lying to you. They are lying to what? To be fair, they're either wrong or they're lying to you. I find it to be more useful to consider them to be liars because it will cause you to act with greater urgency. If you say that they're simply wrong, you might show compassion, which I think is a laudable thing. But if you think they're just simply wrong and misguided, you might take it easy on them. And that's nice for you and for me and for everyone else. But for the people that we have chosen to put their hands directly on the levers of power, we don't have time to go easy on them. You instruct them, they get it. And if they don't get it, they're gone. It's easier and more efficient to consider them to be liars than to simply be wrong. Because the urgency, the people that are suffering and dying, demand an immediate response. They deserve better than simply patting them on the head and saying, oh, poor congressperson, you didn't know. No, you don't get that. You get to know the truth or you get to go. There's no option. MMT, once you see it, there's no unseeing. Once you understand it, there's no not understanding it anymore. We are a currency issuing nation. We have the right and the authority and the responsibility to use that power to be able to provide for all our citizens. We can do that in healthcare, in education, infrastructure, research and development. There's any number of places that God knows with green energy, with the Green New Deal, that's going to be massively expensive and really don't have time to be able to be playing politics with people who have been purchased by the fossil fuel industry to make sure that nothing happens. We don't have time. They get it now, or they get gone.
One of the things that I've kind of noticed, and it was actually through watching the con, who Patrick was going to supposedly maybe stop by if he had a chance, but I mean he's busy promoting his true crime series called The Con. But how they kind of laid that out with the whole thing, how it happened, and
Yeah.
you know, the banks, and you had like everything. It couldn't have happened without the four institutions below the Wall
Mhm.
Street. You know,
Yeah.
for it to get even turned into a mortgage-backed security, it had to actually get to be a mortgage, which is takes 4 steps. All of those people were in on it, and they were all being incentivized. Well,
Yeah.
this is a great, like, if you're a thief, which I used to, or a criminal, which I used to be, and you know, that's a great model. I mean, come on, how long has it been working, and how much do they have people fooled? So my question is that there's all different legs of big, whatever you want to call it, big oil, big pharma, the
Mhm.
military industrial complex. You got the prison industrial complex.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't they use that same model in other industries, and just flip, you know, instead of having the savings and loans and savings be the commodity, or you know, the homes the commodity. If you flip this into the prison industry, people are the commodity,
Yeah.
and are the people that are you know, from the police officers to the not the public defenders, maybe the public defenders, but more the prosecutors, the judges, everybody else, incentivizing to giving people long time, which is actually happening. And I've been delving into this with you know, all. So there's a thing that's called conspiracy, which is hearsay. You don't have to have any evidence other than somebody's testimony. No evidence, no nothing, and usually it's testimony from a criminal who's trying to get out of trouble. So you know, they're just lying to get less time, right?
Yeah.
And I've been digging, and you know, just like Patrick did, you know, when they dig into one thing, then all of a sudden, bam, other stuff starts popping up, and you go, whoa, wait a minute, and then you start to see the picture and the pieces, and you're like, whoa, this, there might actually be something here more than what just looks like here, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's a model that they're just using across the board because it works.
Well, it really, there are so many different ways in which we're getting screwed, you know, and I think one of the biggest challenges that we have as citizens right now, since we are, you know, seeing this uptick in activism, we are seeing more people wake up since 2016. We are seeing more and more in your face, egregious, overt acts of greed, racism, xenophobia, you know, and corporatism, and all manner of predatory behavior. It's really out in the open. They're making almost no effort to conceal it anymore. And I think one of the biggest challenges, when you realize that we are in fact beset from all sides, you know, when you realize that it is Wall Street and the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex and all these different things, to solve any one of them doesn't really change our situation much because we are still beset. There are so many challenges, and I think the biggest challenge is for us to not get discouraged, for us to not see all the shit that we have to do, like walking into a major hoarding situation. You know, you walk into a hoarder house and you literally have, you know, 10 centimeters to walk down a corridor, and it's just horrible. It's terrible. You know, and you're saying that I have to fucking clean this up? Are you kidding me? Just just burn it to the ground. You know, take the loss. You know, it's very tempting to just walk out and say, I'm out. I'm out. I can't deal with this. Or other people who say, burn it down. Just burn it down and let's start from scratch. You know, that's the biggest challenge. You know, it's the first is waking up. Second is waking up and seeing all the different ways in which you're being screwed. And by all means, you know, you can't attack all of it. So pick and choose your battles. For me, it's healthcare and the economy. You know, but that in and of itself has massive intersectional, you know, crosses with education and the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex. I fight very hard for a federal job guarantee. Let the federal government be the employer of last resort, because right now we have the military industrial complex is the employer of last resort, that and the black market. If you can't find space in the legitimate economy, you're going to find a space either in the military or in the non-legitimate economy. Those are your three choices. And if we keep, changing the rules or making access to the legitimate economy virtually possible, then you are going to swell the ranks of the military and prisons. And currently, in my opinion, that's the way the powerful like it. They like a desperate workforce who is either going to take whatever job is available, accept whatever shitty work conditions are available, keep their head down. You don't want to be unemployed. You know what that's like. At least you have a job. Hey, at least you're better off than they are. They like that. If you don't like it, there's the door. The Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, they will accept you. And if they don't, well, then there's prison. That's where you're winding up. And they're okay with that, because once you get into prison, they get free or at least cheap labor.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stand up against that, and realize that we are not powerless, that we have complete agency, and that is going to require sacrifice. That is going to require the sacrifice of some of your personal comfort. You are going to have to take time to write something, to go on a blog. This is me time away from my family. You're a nice man, Sean. I'd rather be with my wife. But I don't get to make those choices anymore, because having made those choices, I know where we are now. I'm not suggesting that I'm responsible for it, but I am responsible for my heart. I want to make sure that between now and the time I die, I look back and say, at least I tried. Even if we don't succeed, at least I tried. Because I can't die now knowing that the vast majority of it, I didn't even try. I knew what was going on, and I didn't do anything about it. No more of that. So the biggest challenge, once you've woken up, is to pick and choose what you're going to do and keep doing it. Just keep doing it until something happens. Just stay engaged, stay informed, check your assumptions. Make sure that you're still at true north. Are your goals still the same? Are you pursuing your goals? Do your actions line up with what your goals are? We need to keep reassessing as we move forward. Because without that ideology, I would have been, as you said earlier, a taxpayer funded. I would have been doing that to this day. And that is the very reason why the things that we want don't happen. Because if you say, and I meet people all the time who say they love the idea of single payer healthcare, they absolutely believe that that's the path, that's where we should be going. They absolutely do not like insurance companies. But when you say, okay, so you're going to push your politicians for single payer, they say no, it's way too expensive. Taxes are going to have to go up. My taxes are already high. I can't afford it. You'd go on Fox News and they say $36 trillion of new federal expenditure, and doubling all federal taxation wouldn't be enough to pay for it. People are hearing that and they're believing it. They are absolutely not going to stand up and fight for single payer if they think their taxes are going to have to be doubled, and it still wouldn't be enough. So it's massively important that you keep reassessing your assumptions. Do taxes actually pay for everything? It turns out, no, they don't at the federal level. They do at the state level. They do at the municipal level. States and municipalities, cities, towns are currency users. They have to raise taxes to sell bonds to get money. The federal government issues the currency. Everything that they do, every bill that they pass is a new dollar created. And they'll tax some of it back. And they'll tax it back to make sure that you demand dollars. The only way the federal government can spend into the economy is if you will accept their money as payment. The only way that you're going to accept that money as payment is if you need that money as payment. You're only going to need that money if there is a legal obligation on your part that can only be satisfied with that money. You don't have to pay US dollars for any goods and services. Not one. There was no law anywhere that says when I go into 7-Eleven, I have to pay US dollars. That's not a law. 7-Eleven charges me in US dollars, but that's a choice. You know, if I know the guy who works there and I say, hey man, I really need a soda, but I don't have any money. Can I paint your bathroom? As an example. If he says yes, then okay. You know, good luck getting him to say yes. But the point is that if he says yes, if I can convince him, the cops are not going to come to me and say, hey man, you're supposed to pay for that soda in US dollars. And I say, no, I don't have to pay in US dollars. I had an agreement. He needed his bathroom painted and I needed a soda. Pretty sure I came out on the worst end of that deal, but screw it. You know, there's no law that says I have to pay US dollars for anything. But everyone charges in US dollars. And I'm only going to look for work that pays in US dollars because everyone owes taxes. Once the US government imposes, or any government imposes a tax on you, they get to tell you with a gun to your head, you had better pay up, and it's going to be in our currency. So now, if you don't want to get your wages confiscated, if you don't want to get your property confiscated, if you don't want to go to jail, if you don't want to suffer the massive punitive damages that will result in you not paying your taxes, then you are going to find the one thing that the federal government will accept as payment for taxes. That's US dollars in the United States. It's Canadian dollars in Canada. It's pound sterling in the UK. So every job I go for, US dollars. Every place I go to buy something, US dollars. Everyone owes US dollars. That creates the demand. That's the first and most important reason why the federal government taxes you. It doesn't need your money. It created it in the first place. It taxes you to guarantee that you will need and demand its currency so that when it spends, you'll accept it. That's it. That's the first and most important reason. Not the only reason, but it is the first and most important reason. There are distributional issues with wealth and inequality they can use the tax scheme for. They can use it to encourage behaviors like getting an electric car, give you a tax credit. That's within their power. They want to discourage things like putting a tax on cigarettes to keep you from smoking. They can do that. That's using the tax system to be able to get an outcome. But those are all uses of the tax system that they created to be able to get them to spend in the first place. Once you've established that, you can then use that tax system to do other things. So to say that something is going to be too expensive for the federal government is a lie. It is always, it's never too expensive. We may not have the stuff to do it. We may cause inflation if we try to spend too much, but we never have a financial limitation. We only have a real resource limitation. That's it.
So yeah, I mean it's a complex thing, and it's going to take time. But I think we're on the right track. We if people like myself who don't pay attention to anything are now paying attention to this kind of stuff, then that's, to me, that's sort of like a marker, because usually when I start getting on board with something, then, not too long after it starts becoming, a thing where more people, and not that I'm the trendsetter, but it's just like, I use myself as the gauge, because
Sure.
of being plugged into what the new thing coming out is. And I mean, not that it's a new thing, it's an old thing, and we all need to be on board with, and even if you can't find, something to get behind that you can agree with, and you're, don't let mainstream divide you. If you have to use something that gets you to pay attention and to, basically get on board with people, use corruption, canceling out corruption, hashtag cancel corruption.
Absolutely.
That's something perfect that you could get behind, because I mean, everybody can agree that corruption is the root of all of this. If you get rid of the corruption, all of the symptoms that are playing out in the streets, the civil unrest, everything that's playing out, aside from what's being driven by media, all of that are symptoms of the bigger problem, which is corruption within the government and the corporations.
Absolutely. You can have a legitimate policy discussion, and come to different conclusions about healthcare and education and all manner of things. But most of the disagreements, in my experience, that exist because people have different attitudes, and those attitudes are usually shaped by how they involve themselves in corruption. For example, I absolutely positively hate insurance companies. I loathe them with the power of 1,000 white hot suns. And if it would require higher taxes to do healthcare, if we were a European country that gave up its monetary sovereignty to go on the euro, like Greece, France, Germany. If we gave up monetary sovereignty and had to tax and borrow to be able to fund healthcare, I would still be on board, because my experience of healthcare is just drenched in the corruption of insurance companies. So I'm always going to come down on the side of a single payer healthcare to eliminate that corruption. Someone else who does not interact with the healthcare system that way is probably the victim of corruption. They don't see it, so they might come to a different conclusion. But if we were to actually be able to, probably never going to eliminate, but if we could at least mitigate corruption and have a population that can be an effective check on government, which can therefore turn around to be an effective check on the private sector, we could do a much better job. And then we can have policy discussions about how we can best, deliver healthcare to everyone. How can we best, provide for the needs of our people and still provide, a good standard of living for everyone. We can have these policy discussions and we can come to different conclusions, but corruption gets in the way of all.
All right. Well, we're at 1:40, and I wish we had way more time to dive into this subject, because, I mean, honestly, you can go on forever talking about the tangled web of bureaucracy and how things are just how they are. But like I said, we're in the right direction. Keep following along with me and my show, because I'm going to be doing a lot more of this stuff. I'm diving into the federal system and the prison system and how that system is going. And I've interviewed one person so far, Melissa Veach, who's actually doing 33 years for nonviolent offense, drug conviction on conspiracy. You know what I mean? Which,
wow.
And she's not the only one. They're filled with, out of two institutions where two women are at right now, 70% of each one of those populations are all conspiracy. They're you know what I mean? So I mean, there's something wrong there. When you've got a prison population that's being loaded up with people that are getting thrown in there where investigative work is no longer needed. It's all you need to do is round up some criminals and have them tell, and you know what I mean. That's just ridiculous. So I definitely want to get to the bottom of that. And so follow along.
One thing that's going to help you there with modern monetary theory, when you realize that states do have to tax and borrow. They are currency users. And one of the ways that states gets revenue is through taxes, fines, fees, anything that they can use, including the criminal justice system, to be able to extract money that go into their coffers to pay for things, because they don't create their own currency. So the prison industrial complex, in absence of the federal government coming in and topping off the coffers of states, you got states that will cut taxes on corporations to be able to get corporations to come in and offer jobs, and then, so they'll give them, tax-free for 5 years. And then we know from experience that at the end of those 5 years, they're still looking for a deal and they want zero tax. So they'll leave your state, take those jobs with them, leave a vacuum, tax revenue falls off the cliff. So what are these states going to do? We can look to these situations and say, how dare you states do these things? But you have to understand, they're not really currency issuing entities. They have to be able to find a way. And I don't like the ways that they found, but the ultimate responsibility comes to us to hold Congress accountable, to make sure that enough currency gets spent into the right places so that states have the funds they need to be able to operate their budgets without having to throw people in jail and utilize the criminal justice system as a means of revenue.
All right, well, let's get ready to wrap this up. Jeff, all of your places and everything that you've done, and the Real Progressive show that you do, MMT Mondays, all of those are in the show notes, and we'll be in the description. Nowhere to Go But Up podcast is broadcast live on YouTube, Nowhere to Go But Up, and it's also Facebook on my Facebook profile page. And then also the audio of this will go out as a podcast on all the podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes or iHeartRadio, and all the other major platforms. And if I'm not on it, let me know. I'll get added. Jeff, you want to say anything before we head out?
Watch the con August 1st. August 5th. August 5th, they're going to be doing the first episode of the con for free on their Facebook Live page. Please, please, please do yourself a favor. They do a brilliant job of making the case for what happened, who suffered, who's responsible for it. And by the end of it, you'll realize they're gearing up to do it all over again, and we haven't done anything to stop it. So watch the con.
Yep, check it out. Follow my my Facebook profile page. All of the updates will be there. Also, the 5th, go to the description. Everything for the con should be in the description of this as well, on the somewhere in there. So I think I've covered all my bases. I appreciate everybody tuning in, checking out my show, and hope to see you on the other side as a follower and a subscriber to this show. And if any questions, feel free to contact me in my link tree. I'll leave a link down in the comments. And thank you. And thank you, Jeff. We will be talking again. I definitely want to have you on a more involved discussion on this.
Be my pleasure. Thanks for having me, brother.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of your day, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.